Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflicts, your weekly developer podcast. And I got a new angle, and Frank's got a new haircut. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, hi. Yeah, it's wintertime, so you got to cut it short. What's your angle? Your angle is different. What are you blocking? You're blocking the game.
No, I'm not blocking anything. I mean, no, well, actually, the game is behind me. The pachinko machine. I should be more centered, right? And I should be looking here. So I've been working a lot on my home desk setup. I have a new. I'll send you a photo. It's not 100% done yet, but I've been
The last photo
working.
you sent me was pretty beautiful, so I think you're just bragging now. I will try to compliment you, but I can only compliment you so much.
I have a new desk monitor stand that I've seen in all these YouTube videos from GroveMade, which is a Portland-based company that makes all of these stands in the US, which is really cool. And so it really frees up a lot of the desk space. I still have a monitor arm coming as well, but it basically, instead of your monitor being on your desk, it lifts it up and it gives you space underneath. So I now have my Mac Mini, my Volterra, my Switch up here, a bunch of stuff up here, which is really nice. And I've been trying to organize a lot more.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I really want to describe this to everyone listening because what he has is a plank of wood
Yeah.
stood up maybe about 6-ish inches. And it's fantastic because it looks like it's a good 2 or 3 feet wide. And I have the same problem where
Yes.
I got an uppy downy desk, but still
Yeah.
the monitor always feels like it's the wrong height. And I still want to put the monitor up a bit more. So I was going to build one of these myself. I have a
Yeah.
very cold wood workshop right now. And I was going to build one of these. But I was going to go small, man. I was going to go small scale. So I really appreciate, I hope you somehow get this into the show notes so people can see. It's just a giant monitor stand and I am here for it. And I am going to steal that idea and just make it in my very cold wood workshop.
There is so I'll give you this one. GroveMade is the company that did it, but there is an IKEA
Of course.
monitor stand. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there's the Eloven, Elloven. I'm going to send it to you on our Zencaster. It's only $30. And if I had a smaller, I have a huge desk, right? I have like a 6-foot desk or whatever. I have a desk here. That's what I might buy if I want something a little bit more metal. But GroveMade is the company. It's a desk shelf. They're not that expensive, but they can be expensive. I mean, they're expensive. You could make this yourself for
The
sure.
The Eloven is like the 1960s desk look. Not into it. Yours is much prettier.
It is much prettier. Yeah, it depends on your
Yeah.
budget. So there's like cork things. There's like different spacers in between it. So anyways, I've been enjoying it. It's kind of a nice setup. I'm going to next get a monitor. I have a nice monitor arm for this big thing that can actually hold it. But the difference is that before I was looking up my camera. If you're watching on YouTube, my camera was up here. So Frank is on the right side of my monitor. I was looking up and it was pointing down at me, which means it was a much more straight on. Now my camera is off to the right of the monitor looking at me. So you get a different angle now in general.
Yeah, I don't show the other angle because you'll probably see the cat, but maybe the cat should be in the show.
Yeah, sometimes it depends on the Zoom you're out there. So anyways, what I wanted to get into this week is this is our first time recording a podcast since the New Year. So Happy New Year, Frank.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Did you get any good vacationing done?
Yeah, it was a great vacation. We had kind of a small vacation. We just had 1 week off, and then we had New Year's Day off. So it was a lot because we have a lot more. We had a lot of trips last year. We have a lot more trips this year. So we decided smaller holiday time off, and then we're going to take more time off throughout the year. And we had done that, so I think it worked out really well. Overall, great time with the fam. Tried some new things. We did some pickleball. We just got back from pickleballing right now. We did some snowshoeing. We did some cross-country skiing, roasted a bunch of coffee, been working on the desk setup. I feel like I got a lot done in that 1 week because I knew I only had 1 week to do stuff. So I cram it in. And I did a bunch of app releases. I was on the news.
Oh,
I did an interview for the news. That was fun. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff. How about you?
Humble brags. No, bravo. That sounds like an amazing vacation. Wow. No, I really relaxed. I'm jet lagged and I bake cookies. So I have not accomplished 1% of what you have accomplished, sir. No, I have not been on the news. No one's interviewed me about my book my cookie baking. I wish they would, but life is what it is.
Well, next time you're in Seattle, go to Trader Joe's and they have these everything cookies and they're super good. We actually made cookie bars with them. You can make cookies or cookie bars, but they have like pretzels and chocolate chips and oats and all. They're really good. And I'm not a huge cookie person, and that's saying a lot. So, but I heard that you accomplished something else, which I heard that you completely IoTified your family house by going back home and putting smart things everywhere. And I want to hear how that turned out, because I'll tell a story really quick, because there's one thing I love. Before IoT was IoT, Logitech made the Harmony remote. And
Oh
the Harmony
gosh.
remote is my favorite remote because it controls everything. With IR blasters can just do whatever. It controls
Mhm.
Xboxes and this, and TVs and soundbars and all that stuff. And I have the Harmony Logic Harmony 1 or whatever it is. They don't make them anymore. But basically, it's a one remote. You can turn on all of your devices, control all your devices. It had a beautiful Silverlight app that was like across platform, and you could just do everything. You could do it from your mobile phones. It had your hub, and you just control everything with one remote for TV watching. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. Because you'd always go home for the holidays or whenever, and you would look at your parents' television setup, and they had 18 remotes. And like, what? How do I even turn on anything? I don't even understand. So I bought my dad and my stepmom a Harmony Logic Harmony remote. And I was like, this is going to revolutionize and change your life. And my dad said, no. He said, nope, return it. I don't want it. Cause he's like,
It's another remote.
here's the problem. The first time I upgrade something, change something, you're not here. Then it just, trips over. Then you got to fly back to program the remote. And I go, yeah, I guess that's a good point. So touche.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I thought you were gonna score much higher than me on this one because I thought you were gonna
No.
solve the remote problem, the problem we've had since the 1980s.
Yep.
But no, you failed because we all
Immediate.
fail at it.
Yeah.
Without exaggeration, there are 5 active remotes used at my mother's house.
Inappropriate. It's inappropriate.
It's very inappropriate. She asked me how to use it. I'm like, I don't know. Just grab one and press buttons until it does something.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
but that IoT has not solved. I guess, yeah, that's what we need. We need the Echo Dingus IR blaster. Where is that puppy?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, you got to configure it. So, James, what I really did, I didn't actually set up because the hardware's there, but like all IoT houses after 1 year, nothing was working correctly.
Oh no.
and that's the world that we live in. Through a wonderful entanglement of God, every IoT company has its own account system, coupled with wow, you can do amazing things with family share and Amazon accounts to the
Yeah.
point where you don't even know whose Alexa is controlling what in what household, under what account, with what permissions, what skills are active, what groups are active, what stereo groups are active. And if you're like my family, maybe you share accounts a little too much. So, what I got to do this holiday season, this was my productive thing, was I untangled the IoT mess and attempted to do wonderful things because things were entangled, man. And it was like ghosts were always living in my house because like my family would do one thing, it would trigger something into my house. I would do something, it would
Oh
trigger
no.
something in their house. This is the IoT world that we live in, James. Have you experienced this at all? You're a 2 household kind of guy.
Okay, so I want to try to understand. So you went to your family house and you're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go into the Dingus app, because for any Dingus app, whether it be any of the IoT things, you create homes and then you put things in the home. So you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to create an account for my mom, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create the home in my account so I can control it. So if things get added, blah, 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 I'll give her access to that home, right? So I'm in control of the home and I'm there. Now, the problem, I assume, is that there was too much control given and too many things were shared or something like that. Or is that not the case?
Life would be simpler if that were the case, but
Oh,
it's not the case.
oh,
She is logged into her Alexa with her account,
oh, okay.
but her account is a part of my family. And it is
Oh,
mysterious, I will say, on what actually gets shared and what does not get shared. It is not
mm,
completely, or at least to my poor app using ability, exposed very well in apps like this, like tracking that stuff down. Um, so normally, you have separate households. It's smart. It knows those things. It knows which Alexas are. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Dinguses are
oops.
attached to everyone's houses. And all that's fine. Where it gets weird is in groups, and like routines and things like that. Because the way routines work, or at least the way I set them up, is you basically give it a prompt. You give it a
Yeah.
text command,
Yeah.
and
Turn
it
off the
interprets
lights
it.
in the
Yeah,
office.
exactly. So the question is, which office?
Oh,
If you have two groups. So let me go back to basics. So one of the big things I diagnose, everyone makes this mistake. You name your lights and things with way too many words, so it's
yep.
hard to do everything. And then you have like long hallways that have a million lights, and you want to chain them all together, and you come up with ridiculous names like light bulb, my favorite light bulb number 6, and things like that.
Yep.
And it just gets outrageous. So, recommendation to everyone: just use like the Greek alphabet or something. Name every bulb something in the Greek alphabet, and then create groups with real names that you're going to use for everything. It just makes
Yeah.
life simpler for all that kind of stuff. So that's usually what I go do when I try to untangle a house. Problem is, thanks to Amazon family sharing, turns out like kitchens are shared,
Oh,
doorbells are shared. And even though like they're two different households, for whatever reason, group names sometimes seem to get shared, and that's fun. And also speaker groups. I love playing music on family homes now.
I see. I see the problem that is entangled here. That's a little bit more complicated than I thought it was going to be because the complications of the family sharing are real. So I do believe that Apple HomeKit may have gotten this correct, which is
Hmm,
one person creates the home and then you invite people to the home,
right.
right? Now, there is iCloud family sharing, but that is separate from HomeKit. And I know this because you can go into your settings and it's in there, right? Now on iCloud, I added my sister to my iCloud account. We were on a flight together
Hmm.
going home and she kept complaining that she kept running out of space for iCloud backup or whatever, right? The 50 megabyte limit, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I said, "Oh, I'll just add you."
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry. I no, I'm sorry. I had to interrupt because yeah, I had to do that to every family member's phone. I'm like, just pay the $12 a year. Make
Yeah.
my life easier for me. Please pay $12 a year. I hate being a shill for Apple, but
Yeah.
I did upgrade everyone to iCloud Plus.
Nice. That's all you need. Just get it. $3 a month. It's totally worth it. So I told I said, hey, I just signed up for the iCloud Plus. This was several years ago. And I said, we don't store a lot of stuff because we store all of our photos on Google. So we don't have too much. Although now I'm doing it on both places because why not? And I will soon run out of my 200 megabytes. And then I'll pay $10 a month. Everyone gets $10 a month for storing photos. That's what I found basically. That's kind of crazy. Anyways, so
Are you up that high? I don't think I pay for that tier actually.
I know I
I'm
only
cheap.
paid
I'm
I
cheap.
paid the cheapest one, which is $3 a month. That's as cheap
Is
as
that
you
the
can
cheapest?
go.
I think they might have some bargains going right now, maybe for new users.
Oh, maybe for new users. At least
Yeah.
when I did, that was the thing. Okay, so I added my sister to the family account, and no big deal, right? She's on it. She's very little stuff. She doesn't back up her photos to it, so no big deal. And then I got an email alert that was like, "Hey, you bought an album on iTunes." And I was like, who buys an album? I was like, "Did someone
Oh
steal my
god, the
credit card?"
payment systems. Yeah.
And what happens when you add someone to the family account, by default, it opted her in. I must have like added family sharing or whatever because I wanted her to have the subscriptions or whatever I had. And yeah, sure enough, that means purchase sharing was turned on automatically. So she had access to just buy whatever with my
Love
credit
it.
card. That's
Love it.
very scary in general. So check your settings, by the way, that's on there. Uh, and so I removed her, and I was like, "Hey, I'll let you keep the $15 album, but you
A
know,
funny thing a funny thing about the Amazon family sharing is they force you to share your wallet. Or at least I couldn't find a
ooh,
way to do it without sharing wallets. So,
wow, that's
woo,
mean.
let the credit cards fly.
That is mean." Yeah, I used to have a lot more subscriptions, but I don't have any subscriptions anymore with Apple besides my Apple developer account, which I don't know if I'm sharing that. I don't think that works, which would be hilarious. But anyway, so no, it's scary when you do that. But I have heard that because Amazon really wants it to be a household, right? So they really want it to be
Mhm.
in the house 100% because of the Amazon Prime stuff as well, because they don't want
Yeah.
people shipping and doing stuff all over the place. So it does make a little bit of sense. And I've
Yeah.
had this issue with Netflix all the time because we bop around. It's me, Heather, all of our devices. I have it on the iPad in the
Yeah.
garage. It's always being like, this, you don't live here. I was like, it's literally, I'm at the house. And so it's like, get a temporary code. I'm like, I don't even know how to add it to the home. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm just watching Hulu. So take that, Netflix, save the bandwidth.
Well,
Actually, I think they win in that scenario.
part of the 5 remote system that we were using at the family home was a Roku remote and an Apple TV remote. So
Mm,
all during the holidays, it was Roku versus Apple. And I have to say, Roku showed up pretty good.
yeah,
Everything was working very well on it.
it does.
I had a bad Apple moment where I swore that we could turn this Apple TV into a picture frame thing where, it's just cycling through all your
Yeah.
pictures. Because I actually do that as a screensaver on my Mac. It's just kind of fun. You set the screensaver to use my photos album,
Hmm.
pick an album. I pick the people album because then you get people. And then your screensaver is just pictures. It's fun.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, when do you look through your pictures? I never look through my pictures. So anyway, I'm like, I promised everyone I can turn this Apple TV into a picture frame thing. I'm like, I trust Apple. It's a simple thing. Get the
Yeah.
album, show the picture. Not
Yeah.
the
Do the
hardest
thing.
app to write. So after 800 settings, figuring out how to get to it, it's under settings and screensaver, and then you can pick the screensaver type. And one of them finally is pictures, and you can choose either memories or albums. Do you
Oh.
remember what memories are?
Is that the one that's like this? I think it's what I have on by default. Is like this time a year ago, this time
Yeah,
whatever. Those are my favorites. Yeah.
they're like short albums, what, like
Yeah.
100 pictures or something, and then they like collage them together.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of hate them though.
Oh.
I just want random, or I want like people, like one of the smart
Yeah.
albums or something like
Yeah.
that. That's my favorite one, people. So I'm expecting to be able to go to the screensaver settings, hit the people album. No, not there. None of the smart albums are there. Only
No.
the manual human created albums are there. And no one creates albums. I don't create albums. I don't expect anyone to create albums. So back to memories, hit memories, fine. But the most annoying feature of the Apple TV ever, it does all memories in alphabetical order. And
Of
it
course it
never
is. Why would?
really seems to update memories. So whenever it goes into its picture frame mode, all you see are 1,000 pictures from that holiday that started with a B.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
just every time we're like, wow, I love seeing these thousands of pictures. Anyway, I just wanted to complain also because they also made purchasing impossible to switch over, and you just had me in a complaining about Apple TV mood.
Well, so did you figure out actually solving the IoT problem? Like what IoT stuff is in
Right.
the family home now? Is it light bulbs? Is it, dinguses under the TV? Is it what is it? What did you do to your family house? And why? Why would you do that to them?
Oh, because
Just
it's
let
fun. It's fun. Everyone should live in Star Trek, and I will force the family into Star Trek
I
if that's
agree. I
fun.
agree. I agree.
what else are you going to do when you're stuck at home? You
I
got to
guess.
entertain yourself somehow. Um, no, everything, switches, bulbs, creepy homemade IoT relays that maybe or maybe are not to code. Who knows? Probably will be fine. All of the above. You just, I mean, if you have 5 remotes, you got to have at least 5 different kinds of IoT dinguses and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Uh,
so through this process, did you standardize on something, or is this just a cornucopia of random IoT shenanigans? Like in where we're at now, uh, we have the smart lights are only hues. That's it. Just only hues, light bulbs. That's it. 100%, right? So that's everything that we
they
have
make
here.
they make life so much easier. I
They do.
mean, everything just supports them.
Yeah.
They're annoyingly expensive, but everything supports them,
Oh,
so it's
totally.
fantastic.
Outside, we actually I switched it over, so there's the floodlights are hue light bulbs, and it's a hue floodlight system with a switch toggle that's hue, but also a motion sensor that's hue. That's all tied up. So the motion sensor triggers both of the things, and then it all works. And we can dim them. We can do stuff different times of day. Works pretty nice there, right? Now, comparatively, the other place, what we have is uh, we use SwitchBot stuff for that stuff. So SwitchBots are nice too. We have them here actually for think of them as turning a outlet to a smart outlet, right?
Yeah,
So
I love it.
some
Yeah.
so sometimes you need that in just a place that you just can't put a smart outlet. You just don't want to put a smart outlet. You just attach it and it turns it on and off, and you can control it from an app. And there's a little hub or whatnot. So it's kind of nice thing, and they have a bunch of other things too. But we use those as well. And they also have light bulbs. They're definitely not as good as Hue. They're basically just Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. But it's like we only have like one or two, and then they have little remotes, and that's it, right? So it's like minimal. We're here. It's like okay, a bunch of light bulbs inside and outside are that. But I actually kind of minimize the amount of light bulbs in general because well, some people are like, I'm going all in on light bulbs. It's it's good. Everything is good and bad. Like is it, we talked about this before. Before I was like, go in
Yeah.
on smartify every switch and every
Yeah.
thing, and then I'm like, okay, well then smartify every light bulb. I actually think the switch is the right way to go. Like smartify the switch, not the bulb, in my personal opinion.
Switches and smart outlets, definitely the
Yeah.
way to go. I was actually kind of sad because I left the house and I still had one unused smart outlet, and I was like, can't find something to automate. What's left? Because the one thing I didn't want to tear the house completely apart. That'll be next year's project. You
Yeah.
gotta leave some for next year.
There you go.
There's at least 2 light bulbs that are way too high up on a ceiling to ever deal with that need to be switched over to switches and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, the cornucopia, all of the above. Switches are definitely the way to go. I love buying just long-lasting LED bulbs, and they make so many different styles now. It's just more nice to go that way. You just have to get the ones that can be dimmed. Pro tip,
Yeah.
because I do love the smart sockets. I don't know if they have dimming smart sockets. That'd be kind of cool, but that's definitely the way to go. I want to say like okay, so in the cornucopia, there's also like Ring security cameras and that kind of stuff. You have to integrate all that into it too, because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I mentioned was lovely at my mother's house. Whenever someone would ring her doorbell, my doorbell would ring. So that was wonderful.
That's crazy.
So disentangling that one, that was just a naming thing again.
Oh
So
well.
just had to make sure that like the because you use a lot of default names, and with one house it all just works fine. But when you're playing all these games, you just have to fix all the names and things like that. So pretty happy with all of that. Like I was mentioning, music groups also naming problems. Just FYI, I'm so lazy. I name everything all the time, and so. But it is a fun game to just play music at other people's homes. So I do recommend that you at least put in a few smart groups so that you can
Yeah.
do that. And the rest was fixing those other device names because pro tips: don't put the word light in your names because then it's thinking light, and it's like
Yeah.
ATM machine. It's an infinite recursion that the poor little Echo Dingus just cannot handle. I think I'm gonna get a sign called IoT Repair, Frank's IoT Repair, and it's just gonna be called "I'll fix your names."
Well, that's funny. I mean, it does make a lot of sense because I do name all of my lights and I put light in it, but there's a light icon. It knows it's a
Don't do
light.
it.
It is bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
kitchen
smarter
lights,
than that.
living room lights. It's like, okay, now it knows. And it knows it is smarter. It's lights. It does get upset with that. I will say, um, here is the actual pro tip. If you're dealing with multiple households, different IoT systems, here we use HomeKit, Apple stuff.
Oh wow! Okay.
Elsewhere, Google Home. Two completely
Boom.
separate, boom,
Mic drop.
separated systems. And then we don't have to worry about it at all, right? Now, there are a few reasons for that. Okay, so here, for example, we have HomeKit for everything because we have an Apple TV, right? So the Apple TV works great. And the other place, we don't have an Apple TV. We actually have just a tiny, like 27-inch Roku TV from Walmart. I bought it on Craigslist.
Nice.
It was like $40.
Love it.
And when we're not there, most of the time, it's hidden inside of a pantry. So upstairs, you don't see it at all. So we actually set it like on this little table and things like that. So we really don't have it at all because there's no place to put it. We're actually going to be messing around with a projector, maybe just like trying stuff out, which is kind of fun. Bought like a little one on AliExpress to try. But that forced, which kind of forced me to think, okay, well, do I buy a HomePod? Like, who's buying a HomePod, right? No, because then you need a base, right? And I'm not gonna buy like an iPad that which would just have it there all the time. That could do it. So the Google Nest display devices, which are like a little dingus, right?
Yeah.
They're like $30 and they could do everything. And of course, just like HomeKit, anything can tie to them. So that links together all of the smart dinguses in that house.
That's a new one for me. I didn't know about the Nest ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done it. You're pretty happy with it?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine. I will say this. Here's the bonus of the little dingus device, the little Google Nest display, is that it does two things well. You can tell it to play some music. It'll play the music with ads. And then it will, by default, connect to Google Photos, and you can pick anything. You can do random. You can pick an album. You can pick a smart album. You can do anything. So we do that. So when we have, like Heather's dad came out, we did an album with him, and we could pick it, and then all the photos are on there. So that's kind of fun. You can rotate through stuff. So we kind of have like a coastal album that's just like on there all the time of like pictures of the coast because it's like pretty, artwork. So anyways, that's kind of fun.
You won that round. I completely failed at the pictures. But that one vacation that starts with a B, we're all never going to forget it.
It is. I will tell you this much. Photos and photo albums seem to be nearly impossible to get correct. It's really wild. And like applications don't do it anymore. I don't understand. I did. And, visualizers, that's all it is. The screensavers and visualizers. If you open up the music app, I got a 3-month free trial of it. So I'm going to cancel that as soon as that's done. But if you play music under window, there is a visualizer. It's Command T. There's a visualizer and a classic visualizer, and it'll take your whole thing and do music visualizations to the beat of the music. I randomly was trying to do Command T to open a new tab in Edge, but I accidentally had the Apple Music highlighted and it didn't. So that's kind of funny. It brings it over and it's just like
an old
orbs.
iTunes thing. I've forgotten that's so 1990s. I've forgotten about music visualization.
Winamp, baby. Winamp.
That used to be was that a Windows screensaver or was that a Mac screensaver? Someone used to have one that would play your music and then run those crazy Winamp visualizations.
Yeah. And it's fun because they have, if you go to Apple Music, they have two visualizers. They have new like visualizer and then classic visualizer.
Ooh.
The classic visualizer is like the old crazy one.
Old school.
Yeah, there's an options. there's an options setting that is grayed out, no matter what, just grayed out. And so it's interesting. Anyways,
Well, can I tell you the punchline of all this?
but bum, yes.
So I'm so proud of myself. I install some IoT, I repair the IoT, I master naming, I leave, everything's working great until a year goes by and everything will break again. But whatever. Good for a year. Get home, and well, there's a ghost in the kitchen now.
Oh
turns
no.
out turns out the naming system was not perfect.
Uh,
And the routines are malfunctioning, and so there are weird wonderful discords and confluences and poltergeists. Let's just go with poltergeists controlling kitchens in multiple homes. And welcome to 2025, everyone. IoT still not solved.
Now you can change and adjust this remotely, correct? Like you don't have to
Oh,
be home.
correct, except we get into the accounts issue because
Oh.
they are separate accounts technically.
Oh. Oh gosh.
That's what makes it fun. Like what you said in the beginning, it would be so nice if they were actually just merged
Yeah.
properly, but
Yeah.
whatever.
You got a merge
I
conflict
know
going on.
I didn't really want to be like logging into different accounts, so I did the next best thing. I stole a device from the house that's logged in, and I plugged it into my network. So now I can control all the settings using that device.
It is interesting because, you know, a lot of people think like, you know, especially if you're in tech or do anything, like, you know, whoever's the best with computers becomes the family, you know, computer person, like IT support, but actually
Yeah,
it's IoT support, family IoT support.
that's
That's
what it's
really what
turned
it is.
into. Yeah,
Totally.
I didn't have to fix any PCs. I long for the days where I was like pulling out PCI cards and plugging them back in and fixing those IRQs. That seems so much easier. But
So
well, I guess in the end, it's just names and just turning things on and off until they turn on and off again.
it's pretty, and you know, I will say this, even myself today, and we talked about it last podcast I did, I the problem with these IoT devices, and I think I figured out this finally, is really this great divide of 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. It's a huge issue. I do believe now I have my Elgato key lights working. It is because almost they connect at 2.4 gigahertz, and my phones now, you know, they connect to these, you know, my phone is connecting to the one that is 5G and 2.4, you know, combined or whatever, right? I do have a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz, just that is not mixed mode, just because now these devices are smart enough. But I think what's happening here, which doesn't make a lot of sense, is even though they'll connect to the same Wi-Fi network, one's connected to the 2.4 gigahertz band, and my phone and my computer are connected to the 5 gigahertz band. So they actually eventually, like something in the network stack is eventually happening. So like you and I sat here and I was like, eventually the key lights will show up. What I did is my Mac is plugged in via Ethernet. Okay. My Mac Mini M4. However, it also is connected to Wi-Fi,
Oh yeah, got to get
right?
that location service running. Sure.
You got to. Now, the important part here is when you go into your Wi-Fi setup, there's an advanced mode, okay? And no, it's not in the Wi-Fi settings. It is inside of there's somewhere in some setting under network, there it is. There's a dot 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 and then there is set service order. Okay?
Yes, kind of important.
This is very important. So my service order is apparently Ethernet, Thunderbolt bridge, and then Wi-Fi. So what that means is that, yes, I am connected to the Wi-Fi, but it is prioritizing the Ethernet stuff first. So we get super fast Ethernet. But what I just found out, at least, is if I connect my Wi-Fi to that dedicated 2.4 gigahertz band, it seems to be able to find the key lights a lot faster because it goes through some other stack. I don't understand how anything works because IoT is crazy. It really is mind-boggling, you know, and that's because these things are connecting on the network. Now, most of the things connect to your network, but your phone is going through the internet and then back down, right? So it's going through this pipe. My lights aren't talking to the internet. They're talking to local connection stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not to rehash what we've talked about over the years and everything, but I've gotten a little bit tired of the Z Wave and Zigbee stuff, and We're devs. We talk Wi-Fi and Ethernet. So although the Wi-Fi stuff, everything you just described sounds terrible and horrible, I still prefer Wi-Fi stuff
Yeah.
over everything else. I think, and I've said this 100 times, what I really should do is run separate networks on
Yeah.
separate channels and have all the
Yep.
IoT stuff on its own network. A 2.4 gigahertz network, because otherwise, yeah, like you said, things just work better for whatever reason. They just, whatever, 5 gigahertz seems a little flaky with some of these cheaper devices. You know,
Yeah.
everything else connects to it fine, but
Exactly.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of times with my little Eero, you can set them into 2.4 gigahertz mode for 5 minutes, and then you have go around, flicker your lights a little bit, and get
Yeah.
everything to Wi-Fi connect to it. Oh boy! But somehow I still prefer that over all the hubs and everything.
Yeah. I agree. It is kind of crazy. I'll be interested. It's like CES week this week, so I'll be interested to see what happens there. I'm wondering if CES is just going to be AI stuff and robots and that's it. Like I'm wondering I was watching some news. I'm wondering if this is going to be like one of the first years where it feels like the Consumer Electronics Show has nothing to do with consumers at all. So
Ooh,
Jensen Wong,
wow.
Jensen Wong is
Okay.
keynoting. So it's like literally Nvidia. I mean, that does make consumer, graphics cards, kind of. Uh,
We
you
have
know,
GDC for that. Sure. Okay.
yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm curious to see how Jensen like keynotes and what it goes, because is this the new enterprise electronics show? Like we'll see. I mean, there's going to be other stuff too, but I'll be super duper fascinated about it and see how it goes. So we'll break down CS hopefully next week, at least some impressions of what we see from The Verge and Engadget and that stuff. But I'm glad you're back. Frank,
Yep.
welcome back home. Good haircut, looking good. Check us out on
Thank you.
youtube.com/@mergeconflict.fm. You can see Frank's do. Yeah, anything else you want to talk about IoT stuff?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, cool.
thanks
Cool.
for thanks for letting me recount. I think you had a much better Christmas vacation, but at least I got to play with electronics.
Yeah, which is always good. It's always good. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. Let us know what you want to hear. If you got topics for the show, this was a fun, fascinating episode 444 coming up on 445. So yeah, 444. Yeah, it only happens every 100 episodes,
111.
111 episodes. Yeah. So, anyways, there you go. Another 2+ years to get away for the next one. So that's going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. So until next time, I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.